The dust of Troy tastes of salt and iron. Here, at the Scaean Gates, the air has grown thin, caught in the lungs of a city holding its breath. One man stands outside the walls, while a nation watches from the battlements, their shadows long and jagged against the stone. The son of Priam waits for the storm that has haunted his dreams since the first black ships touched the sand. Can a mortal man outrun the shadow of a god? Achilles comes. He does not run like a man, he moves like a wildfire, fed by a decade of bitterness and the fresh, raw grief of Patroclus. The bronze of his armor, forged in the fires of Olympus, burns with a light that blinded the sun itself. He is the Pelian spear personified, a shard of ice in the heart of the world. For years his name was a whisper that curdled milk. Now it is the only sound in the universe. The son of Peleus knows no hesitation, only the geometry of the kill. His mind is a map of veins and joints, a ledger of debts that can only be settled in blood. He had sworn to turn the Scamander red, and he has kept his oath. Every step toward Hector is a syllable in a funeral dirge that has been playing since the day he chose a short, glorious life over a long, forgotten one. The choice was made in bone. Hector touches the blue lapis lazuli at his throat, a gift from Andromache to keep his cloak fast in the winter wind. He thinks of the treaty he might offer, half the gold of Troy, the return of Helen, but he knows the man approaching does not speak the language of gold. Achilles is beyond the reach of reason. There are no pacts between lions and men, the wind seems to whisper, a truth as old as the mountains and as cold as the sea. From the heights of the wall, Priam cries out, his voice a reed snapping in the gale. He begs his son to come inside, to let the gates swallow him and keep the monster at bay. Hecuba tears at her robes, her silent screams echoing in the hollows of the stone. They see the fate of Troy written in the stride of the blonde-haired killer. They see their lineage ending here, in the dust of the Scaean plain, under the uncaring gaze of the gods. Hector stands his ground. He is the wall that does not crumble, the shield that does not break. He remembers the weight of his infant son in his arms and the scent of his wife's hair. These are the things he guards. He adjusts the grip on his spear, the wood smooth and familiar, a piece of the earth he has sworn to protect. The blue stone on his chest catches the last light of a sun that will not see him live to see it rise. The two men stand in the silence that precedes a world-ending storm. There is no more room for words. The history of the war, the decade of blood, and the whims of the Olympians have narrowed down to this single patch of earth. One represents the fury of the individual soul, the other, the duty of the man who loves his home. The gods lean down from their heights, their faces flickering like stars, waiting to see which light will be extinguished first. The chase begins. It is a nightmare in the waking world. Hector runs. Achilles follows. 3 times they circle the high walls of Troy, their feet churning the soil that has soaked up the blood of their brothers. Hector's breath comes in ragged gasps, his lungs burning like hot ash. Behind him, the steady rhythmic footfalls of the Greek are a drumbeat of death. Achilles does not tire. Achilles does not falter. He is the shadow that cannot be outrun. The spear leaves Achilles' hand. It is a line of bronze lightning. The air shrieks as the wood flexes under the force of the throw. Action. Hector dives. Consequence. The spear hisses past his ear and buries itself deep in the Trojan earth, vibrating with a low, hungry hum. Action. Hector rises. Consequence. He realizes he has dodged the sting of the wasp, but the hornet is already drawing his blade. The dance of death enters its final, frantic movement. Hector flings his own spear with the strength of a man who has nothing left to lose. It strikes the center of Achilles' shield, the very spot where the stars are engraved. The bronze tip crumples, the wood snaps, the shield does not even tremble. Hector looks for his brother Deiphobus to hand him a second spear, but the plain is empty. The god-sent phantom of his kin has vanished into the mist. He is alone. In that moment, the truth descends like a shroud. The gods have finished their games with him. Apollo has departed. Athena has played her cruel trick. Hector sees the world for what it is, a theater of shadows, where the brave are slaughtered for the amusement of the immortal. He draws his sword, the steel singing a lonely note. He will not die without a fight, nor without glory. Achilles finds the opening. In the space where the collarbone meets the neck, the life of Troy is exposed. He thrusts the ashen spear with the weight of his entire soul. The bronze point tears through the flesh, missing the windpipe by a hair's breadth, so that Hector might still speak his final futile plea. Achilles looms over him, his eyes like frozen lakes. "There are no pacts between lions and men," he snarls, repeating the law of the predator. Hector's voice is a wet rattle. He begs for his body to be returned to his father, for the rituals of the dead to be observed. A sound like grinding stones. He promises the birds and dogs of the Greek camp a feast. In Hector's dying eyes, a flash of prophecy appears. He sees the arrow, he sees the heel of Achilles, and he sees the Paris he died to protect, causing the fall of the man who slew him. The armor is stripped. The sunburst plate that Hector wore with such pride is tossed into the dirt like common refuse. The Greek soldiers gather, their faces twisted in a mixture of awe and petty cruelty, each taking a turn to stab the corpse of the man they feared. Achilles stands above them all, unmoving, his thirst for vengeance still unquenched. The death of the man was not enough. The memory of the man must also be broken. The hero becomes a butcher. Achilles takes his knife and pierces the tendons of Hector's heels. He threads thongs of ox hide through the raw gaps, binding the Prince of Troy to the back of his chariot. There is no poetry in this act, only the mechanical application of spite. The armor of Hephaestus gleams in the dark, reflecting a man who has traded his humanity for a seat among the Furies. The horses scream as the whip falls. The chariot lunges forward, and Hector's head, once the pride of his people, bounces against the stones. The white horsehair plume is dragged through the mire, becoming a grey, unrecognizable rag. Achilles doesn't look back. He drives as if he can outrun the ghost that is now literally tethered to his heels. The blue lapis lazuli pin, still clutching a scrap of purple wool, skips across the flint, scarred and broken. Andromache hears the wailing before she sees the cause. She had been preparing a bath for Hector's return. Now, she watches from the battlements as her husband is reduced to a streak of crimson in the Trojan dirt. The blue stone she gave him lies somewhere in that dust, a tiny, forgotten fragment of a life that ended between two breaths. She falls into the arms of her handmaidens, the darkness of the night finally matching the darkness of her future. The cost is tallied in the silence of the camp. Achilles has his revenge, but he does not have peace. Patroclus is still dead. The hollow in his chest has only grown wider, filled now with the cold wind of the Aegean. He looks at the body of his enemy and sees not a trophy but a mirror. He has killed the best of the Trojans, and in doing so, he has sealed his own fate. The glory he sought is a heavy, rusted chain. Fate is a loom that never stops turning. The duel at the Scaean Gates was not the end, but the beginning of a final, agonizing chapter. The walls of Troy still stand, but they are hollow now. The spirit of the city died with Hector. The lessons of this night are written in the stars, that even the greatest among us are but playthings of the gods, and that the only thing we truly own is the dignity with which we face the dark. The storm has passed, leaving only the wreckage of souls. Achilles waits for the dawn, knowing that his own shadow is growing shorter with every passing hour. The duel is over, but the war for what remains of his humanity has just begun. Soon, an old king will cross the lines to ask for a son's body, and the lion will have to remember how to be a man. Walk with us through the old stories. Subscribe to Saga Weaver, where ancient warriors face impossible choices.